Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426, and today we have the review of the robot Damashii Gerbera Tetra ver anime from the 0083 Stardust Memory. So this is one of the main reasons why I wasn't able to upload yesterday's review, because I was heading to Gundam Base to go purchase this. Alright, so right off the bat, for those who don't know, the Gerbera Tetra was originally the Gundam GP04, but was later repurposed into this design. So that's definitely an interesting background, and I'm really amazed by this design where you can't really see the Federation style design anymore. Alright, so I'm pretty sure some of you guys are going to be wondering like how different it is from its HGUC counterpart. Now, I did prepare a Gerbera Tetra, but it's not the retail version, but rather the rollout color version, or the rollout version. So there are going to be some differences regarding the retail for this one. For example, the color is more red instead of the pink. So, but according to some information that the HGUC Gerbera Tetra, the pink tone is kind of different from the robot Damashii. And other than that, and the head design is different, so I won't be making any comparisons between heads, but overall, I'm just going to be making comparisons with the overall design, like the body size or proportions and such, because everything else should be the same. Of course, the chest sticker should be green, but this one is blue, so yeah. I will be making some comparisons, so no need to worry about that. Alright, so before we start off with any comparisons or any articulation, let's see what you get from this figure. So, let's start with the effect parts. So, we get some effect parts. So, we get 3 thruster effect parts. Now, and all 3 thruster effect parts has these pegs that are in an angle. So, keep that in mind, because usually we would have 2 types of thruster effect parts where you would have the same shape, but the peg here would be in a straight line instead of this angle. So, but in this case, you all get the angled ones, so keep that in mind. Let me get rid of that, and then we get 4 effect parts. So you can all use these as beam saver effect parts, but once again, you can use the small ones as on beam sabers, or you can use this giant one, and then we get a bent version for the beam sabers. That's very nice, and I absolutely love this design and curve. So that's that. And for those who are wondering, yes, you could actually use these on the rifle. So I believe this is supposed to be a beam machine gun, but you can still use them. And we also get a nice firing effect part. So you can just plug this in here, and then you can attach here, so you can get a much more natural looking firing burst effect part. So this is not the first time we've seen these, so yeah. But I believe this is the first time, at least for me, that I'm seeing in this color. So yeah, we have a bunch of those, and since we brought out the machine gun, or beam machine gun, here we go. So here we have the weapon, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So here we have the HGUC version, so it's the hand attached to it. So you can see lengthwise, the robot Damashii version is slightly longer here, and overall the details are seen much better. And then the HGUC version, the handle does not move, or there's nothing that actually detaches. This one, the handle does move, so this actually is a big bonus. And on the manual, they also mentioned that you can actually slide this part out to reveal the insides. So I thought that was an interesting aspect. Now, and this part seems to be like a separate part on the bottom, but it's not coming out. It's either it's glued on, or maybe it's like there's a T-shaped clip inside there, so which doesn't allow me to pull out. But still, I say they did a pretty good job on the design here. So that's that. Let me just get rid of that, and then see what we got else here. So we get 2 antenna leftovers or replacements. So this is the one that goes onto the head. So just in case you break yours, you can always have this replacement. So it's always nice to have extras. I'm really thankful for that aspect. And then here we have another antenna. At first I was trying to figure out what this was, but it reminded me of my old mistakes. So here we have another antenna on the end tip of this extra fuel canister extension here. So I believe I accidentally broke mine on my HGUC version. So yeah, I guess Bandai was aware that these were also one of the easiest parts to break on the Gerbera Tetra, so which is why they gave you a extra leftover piece here. So always nice to have leftovers just in case, or extras in case you break the piece. Now here we have the back extension that has the fuel canisters. Now inside the box, these parts, the fuel canisters, are going to be separate pieces, so just keep that in mind. So you're gonna have to reattach these. And looking here, it's a pretty simple thing. You can just attach this to the back, and you're good to go. You have these thrusters that are also movable on ball joints, and then here we have the fuel canisters, which can rotate and then it can move up and down. So you can pretty much position them anywhere you want to do so. I'll be demonstrating this later. Okay, there we go. And then here we have some other stuff. So number one, as usual, we get the usual hand rack. So you get 5 sets of hands. I'm currently using the multi-purpose hands on the figure. Other than that, we get a fully open hand, semi-open hand. We get a trigger finger. I guess I should. So these two are the trigger fingers, and these are kind of like the multi-purpose hands. But you can see the holding area is much more of in an angle rather than a 90-degree straight line. So if you want to hold your beam sabers in an angle, this is the hand you use. So that's that. And then here we have some beam saber hilts, and yeah, you can actually kind of recreate where the Gerbera Tetra is pulling out the beam sabers. Of course, I do have one issue regarding these parts, and I'll be going through them later. Alright, so let's start with the review. So once again, the more stuff there is inside the kit or figure, I have to show all of them, just the way how my policy is. And here we have them side to side. So as I mentioned, we're not going to go over like the colors because they're different and the head design is different, but the overall mold should be the same regarding the HGUC retail version. So right off the bat, I can definitely tell the proportions are very different. So the figure here has a much more wider body as well. The body is much wider. And then the waist section on the bottom is much more longer, but seems like the waist position seems to be the HGUC version seems to be much more on the higher side, and overall everything is much more chunky on the HGUC. I mean on the robot Damashii. Even the thruster size on the side is much bigger. You can see the size difference. So that's that. And then once again for the I actually forgot about this aspect where yeah, on the rollout version, I'm not sure if this counts on the HGUC version, but there was a sticker here which was not that ideal. This one doesn't. This one is just the same color as the usual arm sections here, and then these parts actually can actually flap around. So this one doesn't. So there are more moving parts in general. So I'm not gonna go like compare the articulation here. So also the arms are much more easier to move on the HGUC version, if I remember correctly. Because well, technically the way how this works is that the top shoulder part is a separate piece from the arm as well. So and it does get in the way time to time. So and that is the same situation as the Gerbera Tetra, but at least there are more moving parts. This part can move more, and then this part is also a separate piece. So this part to the back is also a separate piece from this here. Of course, there is one part that's holding these two together, and so with that, the arm can also move on its own. So there's a little bit more separation here. So and it does get a little bit tricky because this part does move a bit, but you can't really rotate them properly, so it doesn't move like that. So they're kind of stuck in this position here, but at least they can move together with the shoulder, so that's actually a pretty good thing. So anyway, we've seen the differences, so you can see the proportions are very different, the style is different, so and there are more moving parts in this area. So yeah, we'll get into that. So now let's go over articulation. So let's start with the head. So as usual with most robot Damashis, the antenna will be separated from inside the box, so you're going to have to reattach that on your own. The head, we have this back flap for some reason, so that's that. And then yeah, I'm not even going to try to go 360 because yeah, there's a lot of parts that are colliding them. But then again, I don't think this, usually monotype mobile suits don't really need to go 360 because they are capable of seeing the back. And I believe if you can take this part out, yes, you can also move the mono-eye. You can move the mono-eye position if you want to do so. But I usually tend to leave it in the middle just for the sake of looking, trying to make it look forward because I don't want my unit looking in an awkward direction. And down it can go pretty okay, but because of the head design, that's just something you have to expect. And going up, that's actually pretty good, better than I expected. So that's that. Alright, so now let's get the shoulders. As I mentioned, there are 3 components. Number 1 is this section, the thrusters can go up and down, and then this section that goes to the back, which this flap is also connected to a ball joint, so you do have some extra movement here going on here. So that's that. You can even move it side to side like that. You can twist it. And yeah, you can move this entire part if you want to do so. This won't move the arm, so you do have some extra range here. And then the arms, yeah, you're not gonna go able 360 on this one because as far as I know, there's no way you can do so. If there is, or if this part does actually rotate together with the arm, do let me know because I don't think that's how it works. but you still have a 360 on the lower arm as well. And here is the interesting part of the bend. So bend wise, come on, bend wise, we still have that typical nice bend. Oh, come on, there we go. We have that nice double jointed bend kind of articulation, but no, it's not exactly a double jointed bend. I mean, technically it is, but the way how this is connected is that, look at this movement. So you have this, come on, okay, you have this side to side movement, which is very interesting. I mean, it's not exactly the first time we're seeing this. We've seen this on the GP02, if I remember correctly. So my guess is that the arm, the overall frame, it's not connected to the inside here, but there's actually a joint here that's connected. So the lower arm is not inside here. There's a joint here that connects to the end tip, which allows this to move side to side. I really found this interesting because, once again, the Gerbera Tetra is also one of those mobile suits that kind of suffers from the Alex syndrome, because we're always seeing the mobile suit in this angle with the arm, and it seems like it's always like moving forward a little bit as well. So usually to bend it, we would have to look at like this and do this, but sometimes, or most of the time, we would see it like this. So I think they wanted to kind of, you know, fix that issue. This is not exactly a full-fledged fix, but still it works. So that's that. And because of this aspect, sometimes when you're holding a beam rifle or a beam saber like this, it will collide with the bottom section here. And for those who don't know, yes, the Gerbera Tetra does have its extra built-in weapons here. These are supposed to be machine guns. I forgot how many millimeters, but still, it works. And I was kind of hoping, like the Alex, where you could attach a firing effect part onto these machine guns, because I am a big fan of built-in weapons. But sadly, that's not the case. But still, it's good to know that the detail is there. Alright, so now the body, let me just move this a bit so I can have some extra grip. So the body can go, let's see, not exactly 360 and not exactly 90 degrees, less than 90 degrees, but still that's a good enough range. And then we have a nice ab crunch going on here, so you can move that pretty well. Very nice. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the main body. Now let's look at the legs. So, right, so regarding the arms, you can still go to the side 90 degrees if you're wondering. So the legs, we have a nice side swivel going on here. And then these sections, where in the HGUC version, these were just a single piece. But now in this case, you can actually open these sections up. And this is where you can actually attach those beam saber attachments onto here. So you can give out the illusion where the Gerbera Tetra is pulling out the beam saber. Although, I'll demonstrate it later, but there is a small issue that I'm having. It could be just me, but still, hopefully you guys can help me out. Alright, and then the legs can go forward, no problem, because there's no front skirt or side skirt or back skirt. There's no such things. And then backwards, also pretty well. And then to the side, actually, yeah, you could go to the side a little bit less than 90 degrees, but if you do so, this part will, open up because it's colliding with the main body. So keep that in mind. And then bend wise, we have a nice, not exactly the best bend, but we get around a 90 degree bend going on here. That was kind of unexpected, but still, it's not something, at this point, you don't really need to go full bend, because that's pretty much enough, because you won't be like doing some sort of yoga pose. And then the knee sections on the armor do move together when you bend the legs, so that's actually a pretty nice detail. And you have your ball jointed feet, which you can also have this part extend. And whoa, what the heck is that? Seems like I got some sort of like plastic paints left over here, so that's something I just figured out. So hopefully yours won't have that issue. Let me check if the other side also has that. No, so less dust here, but there is some dust. But okay, that was a little bit surprising. I guess I'll have to clean that up later. And looking at the back of the on the figure, you can see every camera is nicely painted done. We have these extra small thrusters and this large thruster. I believe this also moves a little bit. And then we have more thrusters on the leg. So this mobile suit is just pretty much packed in with thrusters. All right. So my first impression was that definitely I do like the proportions on this one better, because it actually does give out the feeling where this was the Gerbera Tetra on the show. I like the big exaggerated thruster sizes, and I am impressed by the arm articulation. Of course, the arm is kind of hindered by this overall design, but that's just something I'll have to just accept, because that's just the way how it is. Alright, so I'll be right back with this first demonstration with its equipment. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the first example. So currently I gave it the rifle, and then I attached the effect part, the blast effect part, with a smaller or the shorter you know, beam saber edge effect part going on here, and it works fine. I mean, if you want to have the bigger one, you can do that as well. And onto the back, I attached the extension part right over here with the 3 thruster effect parts. So I would like to point out this part here is a pretty simple connection. You can just pop it out and then just clip it in. So it's a very simple connection, and it's a very firm connection. So I don't think you need to worry about that as well. And yeah, you should have no problem with doing this poses, or even with the current arm situation or the hand situation. I mean, it holds the rifle okay. It works well, but there is like a very small millimeter gap. So if you don't look carefully, I mean, if you look closely, you can kind of see that the handle is actually colliding with the bottom section right over here. So I personally don't like that aspect, but if that's just the way how it's supposed to be, that's something I'll just have to, you know, accept at this point. Alright, so this is no problem. I actually really like this aspect. I do love the effect part. The back extension works well, and I haven't broken the antenna on it yet, so I'm very happy. Now I'm going to go with the beam saber, you know, the storing the beam saber inside here. Well, not exactly storing, but using that the beam saber hilt onto the waist section there, just to give you guys the idea what kind of issue I'm having with this at the moment. So I'll be right back. Okay, so here we have the beam saber effect part. So I'm currently just using the small ones just for reference. So yeah, holding the beam saber itself is no problem, but once again, because of these parts, you're going to have to hold the beam sabers in a very specific angle, or twist the hand a little bit so it can go through there. Because if you have it the other way around, the bottom section is going to collide with this part on the inside. So it does make it a little bit awkward to hold. Now the other part is that here is an example where how you're supposed to attach the beam sabers onto the waist section here, or on the sides. So this is where how you connect it, but it's just really awkward to do pulling out the beam saber pose on this, because number one, it's actually facing towards up here. So, and the hand if you're pulling out from this side, you can use this side of the hand, but the other arm barely reaches this section here, and then the beam saber hilt can barely go front. This is as far as it can go front. So if I go more than, it's just gonna pop out. So it's definitely a awkward position. So, but once again, they did something that the HGUC didn't have. So I'm just happy with that. But it's still slightly awkward to deal with me, or at least for me. So yeah. But other than that, that's pretty much it for the review for the Robot Damashii Gerbera Tetra. So once again, if you're a big fan of this mobile suit, I would highly recommend it. I'm just actually hoping, since I hope the Gerbera Tetra actually sells well enough so we can actually see a Robot Damashii GP04 ver anime, because we know, once again, you can't have the Gerbera Tetra if you didn't have the GP04 at the first place. So this is a small hope, and I don't mind if it comes out as premium Bandai, because not many people know about the mobile suit as well. So yeah. But anyway, thank you for watching the review. This was the review of the Robot Damashii Gerbera Tetra ver anime. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.